So I wanted to start, before I jump into the topic, softening the mind, an additional comment on the body as the entryway. I think that we make great progress when we really take seriously the content of yesterday, simply because we are way more prone in our Western culture to disregard the body, to see the body as an impediment. That being said, while the body is the vibrational anchor for the divine presence, so divine presence is access, like I spoke of yesterday, the body is not the final anchor point. It is the way, it is one of the many ways that we can have an immediate, direct contact with the divine presence of our being. So we never want to stop short with anything that is generated in this time space continuum. We know that when we leave this life, we won't have our bodies with us, as far as we know, right? And so we don't want to stop short and then have the erroneous view that the body is it. So I wanted to add that a little bit of a nuance there to the topic yesterday, to offer a bit of a balance to the mystery of stepping into this calm that is the topic for this week. All right, so let's jump into the mind. And just like the other ones, I've really researched a few quotes that I'm going to bring into this reflection. I am sure that you probably are, to some degree, like many other human beings, seeing the mind as perhaps the most challenging part of yourself in living a life of presence, wisdom, insight, calm. I know most people that I work with see the mind as relentless, like a tyrant, and the experience of working with the mind at times to be overwhelming or to seem like a futile effort. But just like I pointed out in our Teresa of Avila evening, mystics like her saw quite accurately that the mind is a faculty that is a gift of the divine, that's part of the essence of our very being, and is there to serve the process of awakening. The mind can quite easily be at the service of jettisoning you into the moment. It's one of the things that you need to develop skill with, to work with, to not buy every story that the mind presents. Affirm the motive that the mind is seeking your good. It is part of you in seeking your good, while simultaneously understanding that it doesn't really see reality as it is. And though it has been masterful in helping human beings survive, it is not the master. So then the question becomes, how then can we move from mental chaos into spacious clarity? I'm sure you've had moments when you've been in the flow and there's been stillness within, and your mind was the place where an insight came that maybe brought tears to your eyes or joy to your heart. That is what the mind really wants to do. I love this quote by Pema Chodron. She says, "You are the sky. Everything else is just the weather." The teaching is profound because it shifts our identity. Our minds tend to position us as the weather. And buying into those thoughts, we then think we are our thoughts, which are a commentary on the passing weather. and not just the sky. So the question then is that we could frame mental chaos as a natural phenomenon. What if you did that? What if you started there? I'll get to the question. What if you started there and saw your mental chaos as a natural phenomenon? Not a bad thing, not a thing you need to get in line or work out or dissect, but it's a natural phenomenon, just like the wind is a natural phenomenon. What happens with the wind? It rises up unexpectedly. It calms unexpectedly. It moves tides. It blows down trees. It ripples through the grass. What if you viewed your mind as the wind? And then that could lead you to a very life-changing question. Not, how do I stop the wind? But rather, how do I become the sky? So here I'm in an environment that has, given what we're doing here, has a bit of chaos to it. And I love that we can come together in the strength of the presence. While this represents the environment it represents, is the ever-changing weather, the natural phenomenon. It'd be so nice if everything were just perfect, right? That every time we wanted to drop into presence, our mind just stilled. The environment around us was perfectly conducive. But life isn't like that. It just simply isn't. And if you are someone that resists that, that wants to think that your environment is just going to change because you want it to, you're then leading yourself towards pure exhaustion and definitely spiritual powerlessness. Accepting the environment as part of the natural phenomena of your emerging. So it's not just the natural phenomena independent of you. I see it as the natural phenomena where your awakening happens, where your emerging happens. And it's very, very powerful. You have to pull the deeper messages out of this text. But when I was working with researching what text could help support, one of the ones that came up was the Cloud of Unknowing, a Christian text. And granted, it was written in a time that holds a theology that we don't hold as entirely true today. So I want to offer a little context for that reference, just in case you want to go to it. Because if you go to it and you don't read into the deeper meaning, you might be a little put off by some of the unworthy language and the archaic writing, because it's written, hundreds of years ago. But in the Cloud of Unknowing, it's understood that to come to this spacious clarity is to step into the mystery of the unknown with the knowing that insight is a form of thought or belief or expression of the direct experience of reality or truth, that it happens in this spaciousness. It happens in the allowance of all the elements to take place around us. And more than that, it's not an either or, like you're letting it be, but you're not part of it. Acknowledging that you're part of it. So if there's anything that's happening in your environment in this moment, personally or collectively, that disturbs you, you are a part of that constellation of energy. You are a part of that creation. You're not set apart. You are a part of it. And your awakening happens in the alchemy of that natural phenomenon. So if something is disturbing you and disturbing your mind, how can you shift in the environment to be the sky and allow the natural phenomena to happen? Not so you disassociate from reality or deny reality, but so that you gain a deeper understanding. I chose spacious clarity for a reason, because clarity says there's a light, there's a knowing. Spacious seems to connote a wide openness, that it could be pretty much anything, right? It is undefined. So there's definition in the undefined. I know in Buddhism you could refer to this as beginner's mind. A beginner's mind is the restoration of innocence, that each moment you approach with innocence, that your mind has become so purified that it and your body and your heart and your being comes to that place of innocence that is untouched on a soul level. It's curious, it's unburdened, though it can carry all. In the Upanishads, it's the last quote I want to put here, and we'll jump into our practice. The mind is actually described as a lake. And when the water is stirred, you can't see your reflection clearly. But when the water is still, the truth of who you are becomes visible. So if the sky seems a little bit more abstract to you, you could see yourself as the water and ask, how do I come to be the still lake? Move from identification to observation. What does this mean? This means reframing statements that you may say to yourself or others. If somebody asks you how you are, you may say, I'm stressed, I'm busy, I'm this, I'm that. See if you can shift your language to say, stress is moving through me. Anxiety is arising. Busyness is a quality that is happening in my daily life right now. You see how you stepped away from over-identifying? And this may seem a bit meticulous, but our words enforce or reinforce patterns. So caring about our words and how we talk about ourselves is a big deal. A second way is softening rather than gripping. When we have thoughts that are chaotic, that are disturbing for ourselves, if we go at them, if we try to work them out like a problem, if we wrestle with them, if we try to say, I won't have peace until this is worked out, what happens is the energy of the thought itself intensifies. If we can soften around the thought, which is going to be our practice today, soften around the thought, it gives it space. And in that spaciousness, we shift our relationship with the thought. And even what is impelling the thought can become evident. And in that evidence, we can move through it or move in a direction that we are embodying the sky. Spaciousness, like everything. If you've been with me for years, you know this is I'm beating the same drum. And if you're new, then you will know that I beat this drum. Spaciousness and all the qualities that are part of our awakening into wholeness, into knowing who we are. It's cultivated moment by moment. It's cultivated moment by moment. When we soften, clarity comes naturally. When we soften, spaciousness emerges. When we soften, wisdom is actually audible to us. If we're narrowed down, we then eliminate the possibility for new inspiration to come in. We're going to allow the use of the breath today and the use of observation be the way we do a softening of the mind exercise. And this will be very interesting. You'll have to let me know how you like it and if you like this practice. I think it's a brilliant practice. All right, so I invite you to close your eyes. With the eyes closed, bring the focus to the breath. Notice the breath Notice the inhale and the exhale. Be aware that during this contemplative practice, the breath is here as a companion, and we'll come back to it. Just be aware that the breath is breathing life into you at every moment. Now bring your attention to the thoughts moving through your mind and see if you can allow yourself to let the thoughts be like a flock of birds flying. And maybe they're flying in a lot of different directions. Maybe they don't have a leader and there's a lot of chaos. We'll sit for a moment in silence while you use your attention, the power that you have, to notice the many thoughts that are moving through your mind. See if you can notice any qualities about your thoughts. Are they heavy, light, fast, slow? Is there emotion that is attached to the thoughts, almost like water on the wings of the bird? Let's sit in the silence and see how intimate you can get in noticing your thoughts. Now, as you allow the thoughts to have their movement, see if you can imagine that your mind or your brain, however you want to refer to the place where your thoughts are arising, imagine this part of you getting wider and wider, losing a sense of boundary, widening as much as you naturally can. And let the breath help. On the inhale, imagine that the brain or the mind, it's just getting a little larger. The space is getting larger. And the exhale just happens to get ready for more breath to come into this part of you. Now see if you can focus upon one thought. And as you focus upon that thought, imagine or sense a space around the thought itself. Maybe the thought is the words or a symbol or an energy. Notice there's space around this thought. And now notice as well that there is a pause every time the thought expresses itself within you. At the end of it, there's a small pause, just like there's a pause at the beginning and the end of each breath cycle. And see if you can stop in that pause. This tiny gap is the place where all calm exists. It is the very place where wisdom resides. It's the very place where the deeper truth of all is happening. Not just that you find it, but it's actually already there. If this contemplative practice is difficult, accept the difficulty be. Julian of Norwich did not say, and all manner of being will be well, because her circumstances were perfect. She said it because it was the truth that came forward when she stayed in the depths of presence. And what happens here, as much as you can stay, is that your thoughts will change and they'll be life-giving. And they'll quiet naturally and rise up when it's purpose. Staying with the pause, staying with the gap, where the pulse of pure awareness exists. So we rest for a few minutes in this place. And as we slowly bring this practice to a close, I want to give you the space to offer gratitude for your mind. You do so in whatever way you wish. Also make a commitment for this day, just this day, moment by moment. How can you cultivate spaciousness? How can you bring this reflection and practice into each moment? And that, bring the palms together in front of the heart and open the eyes with namaste. Namaste, my friends. Have a wonderful day, and I will be with you live tomorrow. I was able to carve a spot here while I'm with my dad. Blessings.